Enterprise and
143. Someone told me it's at 28 and 29 is the crest level where it starts getting out of the banks west of Enterprise. So, well, morning.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Got it recorded?
Yes.
First thing that we're going to talk about in study today is the Dickinson County EDC for driving Dickinson County. Kelly Murata, CEO, would you please come up and present your budget proposal?
Hopefully you guys received my documentation prior. I know it was a lot, but I just want to start first by thanking you for your past investments in economic development. I understand the pressure to be careful with taxpayer dollars and respect the work that you've done to lower the mill levy and manage county resources responsibly. My request for 2027 was $130,000. That is still below the $150,000 level provided just 3 years ago, and it represents a modest restoration of capacity after several years of reduced funding. Based on the county's own budget and the last, what 1 mil that I could find was worth, that request is less than $0.5 mil, and the increase from the current 125 level is only $5,000. I want to be direct about what that investment has already produced. Economic development is one of the few county functions, county-funded functions designed to produce a return on investment. In the 8 months since we rebuilt and rebranded the operation, driving Dickinson County, Dickinson County, that return has not been a promise. It's been measurable, and in that window, we've supported 11 jobs either created or retained, and this is actual projects that have materialized. Help confirm $1.1 million in verified capital investment in the county. We've assisted 88 businesses, including existing employers, prospects, and active projects. We've managed 8 incentive support cases, and we've held over 44 community and government meetings to keep partners and projects moving. Put simply, for every dollar the county invested this year, the businesses assisted resulted in more than $8 in confirmed capital investment to Dickinson County. And that is the return consistent funding makes possible. Just as important, the organization people had lost confidence in is being rebuilt. Membership now stands at 97 partners, its highest point in recent history, with 32 members this year, just this year since the beginning of this year, and our annual gala was sold out. Our countywide visibility has grown sharply, with website traffic up more than 10-fold. That is trust returning, and trust is what turns into the next project. I have a little handout that I wanted to hand you really quick. I'll just show an addition, something that I could put together. Here's one for your guys' files.
Thank you.
This project matters because of where we've been. Since 2016, Dickinson County has not had consistent economic development leadership. And that changed in late 2025. Rural economic development is a relationship-based and momentum-based organization. Businesses, developers, state partners, site selectors, housing partners, entrepreneurs, and local communities need a consistent point of contact, someone who can follow through, gather data, build programs, respond to opportunities and projects moving forward, even when the results take time. National research backs this up. The Federal Reserve and the Brookings Institute both identify local capacity as the foundation rural communities need to compete, attract investment, and access state and federal resources. Communities that fund that capacity consistently are better positioned to win. That is the role that Driving Dickinson County is working to fill. The early results show it is working. We are not asking the county to simply fund an organization. We are asking the county to invest in the capacity needed to compete. Every county around us is working to attract jobs, housing, businesses, visitors, residents, and investment. Replicating this capacity in-house would cost the county well beyond the $130,000 I'm requesting. And the cost of having no capacity is an opportunity lost to the counties around us. With stable funding in 2027, we will continue this momentum, strengthening business retention and expansion, advancing housing and workforce strategies, supporting entrepreneurs and existing employers, and preparing Dickinson County to capture the next wave of investments. The 2027 request of the 130 is a reasonable and strategic investment. And I want to be that consistent leader who helps Dickinson County turn opportunity into measurable results. And in the past 8 months, and I have shown in the past 8 months what that consistency can deliver. With your continued partnership, you will keep Dickinson County moving forward. On the pie chart there, you can see how it breaks out our 2027 budget income. The income is predicated on a successful next 4-year campaign from our local business owners and community. So again, that is not that funding, the revenue is not set in stone, but our definite operational costs are. It takes people to do the work. It takes good people, and to get good people, you have to pay well and you have to offer benefits. And that's where a lot of our expense comes from. Over 75% of our budget comes from personnel costs between, like I said, benefits, salaries, and that kind of stuff. I am very prudent with my resources. I've cut back a lot already, and I hope to continue to cut back much. But if I can't cut personnel, or I won't be able to do the work that's needed to the capacity that's needed in the next few years to really move this county forward. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Maybe talk about the staffing and what you've done there in the last, and since you've come on board. And
well, I've hired a marketing director who's also helps with the chamber piece or the partnership piece. She's been fantastic. She's constantly got people in the pipeline trying to bring them in. When our rural businesses have the opportunity to network and connect with each other and connect to the resources they need, it strengthens them so much more than if they don't have that person pushing the programs, pushing them to get the resources they need to strengthen. One of the data points that I got from I think it's called the Center for Rural Innovation. I don't know if you guys know Corey Keller. He sent me the data points. We collectively, both starting businesses and losing business, Dickinson County in the last 5 years has lost 37 businesses. We can't continue to do that. We've got to figure out how to keep what we've got, strengthen what we've got. I think that's most important. And in rural economic development, the gain, you will get more jobs and more revenue from helping your existing businesses to expand, diversify, and grow than we could attract a huge manufacturing business to come in at this point in time with just the way that the economy is, tariffs, all sorts of different things. So that's kind of my focus, is to work on helping what we've already got here to grow and diversify, and catching those that maybe are at the point that I can get them the resources they need before they get too far gone, so we don't have any more of those businesses close.
So do you also have the statistic or the number on businesses that have come in? You mentioned 37 we've lost.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you said that.
That was aggregate. That would count the ones that
that's just the
that
net.
was an aggregate number. So those that have come in, and that was the net.
Okay.
Of those that have come in and those that we had lost over 5 years, according to the Rural Institute of Innovation or whatever. There's a really neat dashboard they use for data for Dickinson County, and I was very surprised about some of the data that I had been able to pull from that. So, and again, that's countywide. That's not just Apple. I mean, so.
I'll speak, since I sit on Natalie's board, I'll speak from that perspective. There's been a stark change in the way our organization operates and the way our CEO or past director operates. It is a complete 180. I mean, it is operating, they're busy, they got people calling,
Oh, yeah.
they got the social, they got the marketing going, people are starting to see our stuff. I guess where I'm going there is I think it has worked, and bringing Natalie in has significantly helped our organization become operational and start to help people.
Yeah.
You guys might see the morning drives. If you guys don't get it, she also sends an update every week and push you on that list. She'll give you an update of what she's been doing. Every week, you know what Natalie's doing. She's always getting stuff done. So I just want to say from the board perspective, what a refreshment it's been, and I think it's going on the right path.
There's so much opportunity. I'm chomping at the bit. And I spend a lot of time getting our organization in a place where it flows and works optimally so that we can spend time out doing what we really need to do, not putting out fires or chasing money or whatever it is that has, passed. So trying to just make sure that we have procedures and policies in place has been another big deal of mine in this organization, so that we are running optimally so that we can serve our businesses and our communities to the best of our ability.
Natalie, why don't you break down what does a day look like for a CEO of an EDC of Dickinson County? What does that kind of entail?
Well, let's see. I'm gonna give you my day yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Come in, I needed to put together a list of activities that I had completed for a community inside of Dickinson County, all the work that I've been able to do for them. I needed to edit some surveys. I also confirmed our location for our strategic planning location. I had 2 people call, one that wants to do a ribbon cutting for she doesn't have brick and mortar, so we're trying to figure that out for her, how we do that without brick and mortar, but she's really excited about her product because it's in several locations across Dickinson County. Then I had to get my board packet ready and be able to do that. We had about hour and a half board meeting. After the board meeting, I did some of the things that the board had instructed me to. Then I met with a company, the Community Foundation, to one of their impact investing businesses, the loans that they had secured, met with him, talked with that business owner to see how we could help them and what they needed. That's a partnership I'm doing with the Community Foundation, so that when they do this impact investing, I'm on board right away to make sure that they have any resources they need to make the opportunity of the guarantee that the Community Foundation is giving them really count and help their business to upgrade. And then I worked on some more, what I want to say, strategic planning stuff. I'm going to help the city of Solon with some of their strategic planning. Got some more of that data ready to go and to deploy, and some more documents. Worked on some more of this. This thing was new this morning. Kenny had suggested that maybe I just show you where divided out where things, where all the money goes to, and in a way that's easily identifiable. And then last night I worked to get emails ready to send out for all of our investors. We want investor feedback for our strategic planning session. So all of our partners and investors will have the opportunity to provide candid feedback to our organization. I mean, we want real stuff. We want the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we can't grow as an organization if you don't tell us how you're feeling or what you need from us. And that was until about 9 o'clock last night.
I missed one thing. We got the e-community status, which
Yes.
has been a goal of the EDC, I think, since its inception.
Last 2 strategic plans that lasted 5 years, e-community, they applied twice and were not awarded e-community status with different directors. I was able to obtain that status just recently.
Explain what you
That e-community E stands for entrepreneurship. Network Kansas is a huge resource, has a lot of funding backing, both from the state and the federal government, and then just from their interests over the years of providing gap financing for businesses. So that's going to open up our local businesses to some low interest gap financing. So let's say we got a business who got a great idea, but the bank's still iffy, doesn't want to loan them all the money. I can come in with this particular loan, not as, I believe it's not really secured. It's more of a risky loan that Network Kansas provides. And we can get them up and doing that. I provided, at my last organization I had, Network Kansas, and I was able to help, let's see, I'm trying to think, about 12 new businesses start or buyouts. They were also buyouts. They bought existing businesses with that kind of funding where the bank couldn't quite make it, or they didn't have enough collateral to come in and secure it that the bank would like. It also opens us up to small grants to provide entrepreneurship training. They're not huge or anything, but they're opportunities that make a difference. And then they also have a TA program for local businesses where they can get legal or accounting help, or help get their organization set up with the correct status, things like that that will open us up. And then a resource. One of the resources right now that they're offering is a discount for food businesses to help improve their efficiencies for $75. Normally, it's about $500 to participate in this program. Network Kansas offers that at a discount to our local business or food businesses if they needed it. That, and just many different things that it opens it up. And a network of over 600 different organizations and resources for our businesses across the state. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal for me. It makes those who want to start a business or have an idea have hope that they can get off the ground.
So what I'm hearing you say, you have a way, relax, they could be there. You have a way you have a way to siphon through the folks that come in that want to open up a business to find out whether it's legitimate or it's not legitimate,
Oh, yeah.
or whether it's going to be functional or not successful. So you guys have those parameters in there, and you can put that together and make it work and have a good solid based on what you're doing there.
And I can tell you, I've had already just in the 8 months I've been here, there's been several that come in with lofty ideas, but don't quite have all the pieces in place. And again, I determine who's serious by what information they get back to me, or how much work they're willing to put forth in their own business plan or financial modeling, or actually use the resources that I provide. And a lot of times I'll refer them, since I didn't have Network Kansas at the time, I refer many of those businesses for funding to North Central Regional Planning Commission, because they also have a gap financing program. So I'll have both of those at my disposal, both of those tools. And Network Kansas has several loan programs, several pools of money that can be stacked as well to really help a business. So, yeah.
Natalie, just a real quick question on your budget.
Mm-hmm.
On the employee expenses. I'm going to be picky here. So
Sure.
You have dental insurance and you have health insurance. So I need to talk to you sometime after the meeting. How the devil do you get such good medical insurance for $2,501, but your dental insurance is $36,000?
Did I have it wrong on there?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to come talk to you because I want cheaper medical insurance.
Where do I have?
Page 1/3. At the bottom, you
I have dental insurance, 1,100.
you have. I'm looking at mine here. It says dental insurance.
Where are you?
36,200.
You're a lot below that.
Is this
The
the
next
page right here?
2,501.
So,
Dental's $1,112, and health is 36.
yeah, the health is
Okay,
36.
okay, it's the 136. Okay, because I thought
That would be a heck of a deal.
Well, I was trying to help us out.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No,
They're
no.
kind of small, the lines are kind
No.
of short, yeah, okay.
No.
Wow, I pay attention to the budget. I don't think I would have paid 36 for dental insurance.
I just say, that was a gold plated.
Yeah, really good deal.
No, Beth, thank you so
And
much.
we also pay the taxes for the CEO facilitator, and that money is funneled through our organization. He doesn't get the benefits because it's only part-time, but that's an extra, I mean, we get reimbursed for it, but still that's we pay his workers' comp, all of that kind of stuff, the CEO facilitator, not actually on an in-person office person, but facilitator for CEO runs through our organization as well. And that's part of that payroll, those payroll numbers.
I like that talk of looking out to the employees and everybody, because that's the backbone to all those businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we don't want to give raises and stuff like that, but it's a evil of all evil. You have to do it.
Well, and believe it or not, your pay dictates the type of employee and the level of employee and the expertise and skill of the employee
Sure.
you would get.
Absolutely.
And I need good people. I'm only as good as the people that are underneath me and that support me and that are behind me. So I've got to have good people too. I've got tons of ideas and tons of momentum, but I can't do it alone. I'm only one person, but I got a great team right now. I've really built an amazing team behind me, and it's only 3 of us, 3 women, and we're rocking it. So.
Very good.
So you mentioned housing earlier. That's one of the issues. You have a group that's looking at that, and and trying to come forth with some ideas to.
That right there is it's gonna be my number one, and you'll see it come out. Again, we're doing a strategic plan because we gotta have some goals related to that, what that truly looks like, and that we're holding our strategic planning session on June 23rd. Housing is the barrier to it all. I can't attract workforce or build jobs if there's nowhere for the people to live. I can't attract a new business if there's nowhere for their employees to live. A business cannot expand if they don't have housing for new employees or such, or rentals. Rentals is a big deal. We don't have enough affordable rentals. And that's a big deal here. And that was, our rentals are higher priced than even some of our housing, according to that Innovation Center data. It's a barrier. It's a barrier to all of the upper economic development wins that we need some more housing. And we've done good. We've done good, but it's not enough to move the needle. It's not enough to move the needle.
I spoke to someone the other day and they had a daughter, son-in-law move out or take a job out in the Denver area. And so they had to go 30 miles outside of Denver before they could find affordable housing but still is very expensive. But it is a challenge, and I'm sure we have a lot of people. There's those numbers on how many people go to work in another community that live here, plus those that live in Salina or Manhattan or Junction or wherever.
Well, housing cost is way below the national average. It really is. However, that also, in most of the houses are very dilapidated or require a lot of work to get in to them. And a lot of our young people, my last position, I did a little survey. They want move-in ready. They don't need Corian countertops. They're okay with Formica. They don't need high-class cabinets or expensive flooring. They want move-in ready, clean, and safe. That's what they want. And they want to be able to afford it. And they're all looking for the American dream. They all still, a lot of them want it. I don't know. I think there's a way that what I want to call the starter home is my idea that back in the 1950s, we had a starter home. And if we can frame it as not a tiny house, but as your starter home, not your forever home, and we do something that's maybe 3 bath, 2 bed, under 1,000 square feet with carport, no garage, cut costs a little bit, make sure we have common plumbing walls so that the plumbing's easier, less expensive, and we can do in bulk or at a level. I mean, I think you need to do at least 10 at a time to bring costs down to really make it worth it. I think we can do that for about $180,000. I really do. I've been doing a lot of research. I used to work for a general contractor. My husband owned his own construction business and I did the bidding. So I'm very well aware of what it takes. And I've put together a very simple, easy to build model that I'd like to present to the housing. But again, building and buying doesn't solve our renting issue. We don't have the capacity to hold rentals at Dickinson County. We just don't. It's not in our budget or capacity at this point in time. But we do need rentals. We need a mix of rentals and affordable, housing as well.
And we have had a couple of people come in that wanted to develop and had zoning for it. And I know these are not starter homes. I mean, they're at a higher level, but I don't know if you have that information, because sometimes if someone does build in one of those areas, they're also going to vacate a home and, be part of that chain. So, because there was one south of Chapman and I think there was one down in the Holland area. And I don't know, after they jumped through all the hoops and got the approval, I don't know that any of those have any houses on them. So
well,
I guess that'd be a question.
I think we're a very smart and resourceful county. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out together. That's how I feel about it. It's going to take people with patient money. It's going to take people with ambition and willing to maybe to engage in the greater good of the community and see the benefits down the road. That's how I see it anyway.
And we're fortunate here. I mean, we have a strong rural flavor. We have farms and families have been established here for a long, long time, generational. But I did look at a a map, and it is a few years old, but Dickinson County was one of kind of the neutral counties. It wasn't losing a lot of population. It wasn't obviously gaining. I mean, it was
We're coasting.
right there. But you go to the west of Salina and northwest and even north central Kansas, you know, there's some that are losing ground in a very drastic way as far as population. And when you lose population and you lose more businesses. And so I applaud the work you're doing. And I think we're in a sweet spot with interstate and being between Salina and Manhattan and Fort Riley. You know, it's yeah, a lot of opportunities. So thank you for your work.
Appreciate it. Thank you for hiring me and allowing me to be here to do the work. I love what I do and I'm very passionate about it. And again, I'm always willing to learn and to pivot, and I'm very resilient. I just keep going. If I can't, one way doesn't work, we'll find another. So.
We can go to EMS. Any more questions, Commissioner?
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've got another meeting after this, so I'm done.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you guys for everything. Appreciate that.
John can be resourceful. You can be resourceful and squeeze yours in. They're 15 minutes into 10 minutes or 5.
Give it a try.
Morning, John.
Whatever.
Hearing that, I was at a conference a couple of years ago and I had a speaker, EMS speaker from Vail, Colorado. In Eagle County, I believe is what it is. And they were speaking that the county had to buy apartments so that their employees had affordable housing.
Yeah.
They could not afford to live in Vail County.
Eagle County.
Eagle County. So they had to buy it. Otherwise they would have.
Bell's a lot less than Aspen.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to present to you. I figured out like 29 EMS budget. Set up budget. So. Been around.
Been around a little bit.
I don't care which one you want to start, either one.
We've got EMS on top here in the order, right? Let's start with that.
Okay, going through the EMS budget, you know, we were, when we looked at last year's budget and last year's, what we started with was a budget, what we ended up with actuals. It's astonishing, me and Marcus looked at it, how many that we were really within a couple of $100 line item what we had budgeted. And, you know, it's remarkable that we can get that close, stay that close. Certainly it's something that we watch. Obviously, sometimes when you get fuel and stuff like that, we have no control over it. But it was that we did pay attention and did try to keep within our budget last year. And I think that we did a pretty good job of that. Looking at this year, you know, and the thought of trying to any more cuts. If you know, EMS is one of those things that's hard because we really don't know what we're going to have as far as the time of the personnel and the cost of the personnel. Unless we have a lot of turnover, it's pretty set. We know how many people we employ, we know how many people staff, and we can come pretty close on that. But what you don't know is, so what's the unknown is that all of the revenue comes back in to help pay some of those costs. And we have seen over the last 3-4 years, post-COVID, we've seen an increase every year in our call volume, and it seems to be that it's not dropping off this year either. So our call volume goes up, which increases, you know, it doesn't really necessarily increase our personnel costs because the personnel are there anyhow, but certainly it does as far as fuel and wear and tear on the trucks and that sort of thing. So
Let me ask you a question there. If call volume keeps going up, are you going to get to the point where you need more personnel?
You
Is
know,
that a concern?
oh, it's always a concern. You know, I think last year I spoke to it, but certainly the concern with the lack of having a hospital in the southern part of the county and us having to staff a truck down there now, that truck in Harrington, majority of transports they take are transferred to, we give the patient a choice of where they want to go within reason. And the Harrington is within reason, is Marion County Hospital, the hospital in Council Grove, Morris County Hospital, Abilene, obviously, and then Stormont Valley, Flint Hills, which is Junction 6. The majority currently out of Station 2 area goes to the Flint Hills Hospital, Stormont Hospital, and Junction City. So that's kind of good out of some of the other choices because it keeps that truck a little closer to our county. If we would need them to come back into the county, they're much quicker getting back in than if we go to Marion or obviously to 25 miles in the direction to get to Council Grove. So that part is nice, but we have seen an increase in call volume out of the Station 2 area. And obviously, whenever Station 2 moves, we send a truck headed south simply because of the amount of time to get down there. We're about 31 miles station to station from our station here down to the station down there. So we've started whenever they get paged out on a call, we just send one of our trucks headed that direction. If it turns out to be a non-transport, they'll turn around and come back. But at least their trucks are on the call. If they transport, that truck here goes all the way to stages at our station. So we have one truck up here and one truck in here. If we drop to one truck available in the county, the truck sits in the bar. So if you see a truck at the bar sitting, you know that is the only truck available for a call during that period of time. Fortunate that we have Salina as close as we do. Salina, it's very proactive in the amount of things that they can take. We're fortunate that we have a cardiac facility that close. I remember when I first started, Salina wasn't doing hearts, and we made a lot of trips to Topeka. And certainly that put us on the road a longer amount of time, more miles on vehicles, quicker, and replacement was the issue. So we're fortunate in that aspect. So, right now, I'm saying that, speaking today, I don't know that we're to the point of having to add another crew and another truck. That would take 6 people on a truck to do that. But I'm not.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just asking, are we?
Yeah, I don't know. All I can tell you is that the call volume continues to go up. And we'll see. We're trying certainly on the community care medicine side to try to reduce that, keep people from calling, keep them well, and keep them home. But we'll just see what happens with all of that. So it's something that we're going to monitor. Certainly, if it would be getting to the point where it's getting what we felt was, I don't want to say dangerous, but concerning, that we were having long response times and things like that. Certainly, have to look at it, address it at that time. So going through the budget for next year, we did a pretty good job. It's like I said, in coming pretty close last year and looking at what we need. You see on that first page, the only increase that we came up with on that first page is adding some for building maintenance as our buildings age. That becomes more of a concern. So we did overspend a little last year, and that probably will continue simply because of the age. So we did increase that by $1,000. The rest of the stuff we held pretty close to where we had last year. We felt that we were safe in that, keeping at that levels. On page 2, the additional amount was for the telephone and internet. That's been running more than we had projected to be. And again, I have no control over that. As a fixed cost, and we just have to roll with punches on that. Uniforms and maintenance, that varies based upon turnover. If we have more turnover, we have to buy uniforms for people. So we do keep or try to keep the old uniforms. If we have some that are in good shape when they discontinue employment with us, we try to keep them and see if we can. So as long as they're in good shape, we'll try to use them for a place to come in. However, that's not always, unfortunately, we don't have the size they need or whatever. and we have to hit them. So there's some cost with that, but however, we thought that based upon, and you never know when turnover is going to happen, and some turnover, but this time I was able to project for next year to save $4,000 on uniforms. And again, we'll see. Oxygen, IV, and drugs is the next increase that you see over the year before. That is again something we got to have, and I wish we could make our own oxygen. Oxygen is horribly expensive, horribly expensive for what it is, and it's difficult. We've even thought of trying to save cost on delivery, but that gets dangerous delivering canisters yourself from Salina. But I tell you, it's costly. So it's what it is. But and the IV and drugs, IV drugs and that sort of thing doesn't go down. We do buy our drugs through the hospital and get them to us at cost. And it's a great way they can order and then we go over there. The thing it really saves with that is that I don't have to buy stuff and keep it on the shelf. We don't keep any on the shelf. It's all in the trucks. And if we use one, we can go over and get it out of the hospital. And I don't have to worry about something expiring and throwing it away, because anything that expires, that's on them. It's not, because we don't buy it till we need it. So that's a great thing that we have, and the hospital's willing to work with us on that. They have from day one when we're separated from the hospital, willing to work with us on medications, and so we can just, when we use something, just run to the hospital and replace it. So buy it as we need it. So that works out well. So, but again, we all know that medications go up in price, and that's why there's an increase there. So other than that, we left everything the same. So you see the percentage of change in our overall budget is 0.20%. So our $5,500 for budget of $2 million.
Now that's with, your MIH not in there yet. Are we getting that grant again or?
That's what I wanted to, yeah, that was the one thing that we were still wanted to follow up on, was just what you're anticipating the cost would be for MIH in 2027 versus what the revenue we'd be bringing in.
2027 are officially end of our grant period. It's September of next year.
Okay.
So for the majority of the year, and we don't know, they may come and extend that. Patterson's may. So we really don't know that. So maybe hard set date yet. But I think we're going to have enough money that we can probably, if they allow us to, finish out the year next year and be okay with we're a little ahead on how we're spending our grant money. So I think that we'll be able to finish out next year. I think next year or into next year, I'll be closer to say this is what it actually looks like. I think we're still in the growing stage. We right now are stand at about 13 people. That's on a regular basis. We'll graduate some, but as soon as we graduate some, we get some. We started picking up some from Flint Hills, Stormont, and Junction City, people that live in our county that doctor in Junction City. Obviously, I made the comment that we have some from the southern part that do a lot of doctoring there, so we're picking up some there. Dr. Freeze out of Chapman, we started doing some for him. Dr. Mosier at Harrington. So we haven't touched too much into Salina Regional yet. There are a bunch of people that doctor in Salina that live here. But, right now with our staff and with what the physicians are wanting of us time-wise to take care of the ones we have, 13 is a pretty heavy number because a lot of them are 2 to 3 times per week of visits. And we're only scheduling them on the 2 days that TVs are there. They do CP during the day and then they run the truck at night. So you do not have any additional adding people to CP. So that we don't have people hired just for CP. There are paramedics that run on the truck and they do CPs on the days they need to do CPs during the day from 8 to 5, and then 5 o'clock they go back on the ambulance. So And we did that solely because we can transition. It looks like at the end of next year that it's nothing that's not working. It's something that we don't want to continue to do. It's simply to cost somebody a job. We don't have to let anybody go. Transition to their position like that.
Yeah, this isn't budget exactly, but we want to have positions always filled.
Right.
So if there is some high schooler that just graduated from high school, what is their training, education, and pathway length of time where they could possibly get hired by you?
The training that they, for an EMT, which is the most basic level, if they want to become an EMT, they capabilities to go to Salina Botech has EMT classes. They'll run about 8 to 10 months in length, and then they can become an EMT. The community college, Barton County Community College at Grandview Plaza teaches EMT classes. They also teach intermediate AEMT classes, advanced EMT classes, and also a paramedic class. And so if anybody wants to advance from an EMT to a paramedic, they can go to Junction City and take the class, or they can go down to Newton and teach. There's a class taught through Hutch Community College at Newton, so which is a little further drive. As far as payment right now, the state has money. A contract is paid for state. So we do contracts we have in the past for paramedics that we contract through that says that they're gonna we'll pay their money up front, but they're gonna work for us for 2 or 3 years after they get done. They have to pay us back at an interest rate. So, and the state still has money that they can help with it as well. That a paramedic can go and get free money from the state, which has helped. That's something that's kind of new in the last 4 or 5 years. And what we do is they spend 100% of their cost. It covers about 80 or 90% of the cost, depending on which school they go to. And then we, as the county, sign off on the rest of it, 10% or 20%. We sign the same contract with them if they don't work for us. The state picks up that biggest part, and then they've got to work for us to get the other part. So that works pretty good. So there's opportunity if somebody wants to get into EMS, they can do so pretty much free of charge right now, as far as getting their school paid for. So the opportunities are out there for that. So the downside to EMS is you got to be somebody that's willing to work shift work, nights, weekends, that sort of thing. And people that have families, that can be a discouraging part of it. But certainly the rewards are there. Paramedics are kind of hard to find right now. We lost a couple of paramedics. One went to Salina Fire, and one went to down south to Butler County, and so we ended up, we didn't have any paramedic applicants. We had to go out and hire them with EMTs. With the hopes, and sometimes that runs us thin on paramedics for a while, and which lowers the level of care, and that's difficult sometimes to manage. But we've got some that are EMTs at workforce and are wanting to go on to paramedic school, so we then can kind of try to make that happen and get them to paramedic school, and then they're really an employee and a paramedic and tie them into staying here. So.
Let's get not to rush you, but let's try to get through your budget. We got a couple behind you yet, so.
Okay. We'll go to any other questions on the EMS side before we go to help.
I don't. The only thing we're just got to keep our eye on is that MIH, and I realize that it is a benefit to the community, but it is a lot of money. So
it is, and we'll have to see what the true cost is when we get to it. We get down to, we're going to have, by the time we finish up, we'll have a reimbursement for it for the visits. I would say in the next, before the year's over, we will have Medicaid will be paying for it in Kansas. They are in Missouri. Missouri's working with Kansas right now as we speak. So they'll be getting paid for, visits will be getting paid for in Kansas from CanCare and from Kansas Medicaid. And Blue Cross and Blue Shield won't be far behind with it. The last one will be Medicare. Obviously, that's dealing with federal there and that, but it's on their scope, and there's actually a bill for at the federal level for Medicare to pay for it. I think they probably will, just not as quickly as the others. So that will certainly help. But we'll be able to gauge some of that, what we're getting from those others, and when it gets that point at the end of next year, because we'll be getting some revenue for those as well. So, and we'll also be getting that Kansas Medicaid Healthy Blue just are going to start paying for treatment non-transport. And I can tell you that ever since EMS came about back in the 1960s, early 70s, went away from the funeral homes running ambulance service and went into regular people providing care. EMS falls under the Department of Transportation at the federal level. It's where we've always resided. What did they do? They regulate big 18-wheelers that go across the country. Well, they also have ambulance services, which are way more than a transport. But back then, the people weren't trained very well, and they were simply doing it to get a person from point A to point B. And that's transportation. And it's been treated as that. But finally, and so really, in reality, what they pay us for is not necessarily treatment, they're paying us for transportation, according to the federal government. But now they're looking at it different. As more technology comes about, they're going to start paying us for actually treating people. So treatment non-transport. So we get into a situation where we go out and say somebody's blood sugar is low, and we go out and start an IV on them, give them some D50. Their sugar goes back up, they get to feeling better. We unhook their IV, we give them a sandwich, we sit there for a little bit, say, no, I think I'm fine now, which they are. They sign a refusal, we leave and we go away. At this point, we get paid zero for that call. So all the stuff that we expended on the cost of the IV and the cost of the medication I gave them is free, because they've not to this point done anything, because we didn't transport. I'm going to pay us for transportation. But now they're coming to see, and the first one out, Medicaid, is going to start paying us July 1st. We're starting to get paid for treatment non-transport. So if we go out and treat somebody with anything, and at the end of it, they decide that they're fine and they want to stay there and we've corrected their problem, we can then get paid for Medicaid for those trips. So it's coming. So, and that's $250 is what they're going to pay. So for that trip. So that's you can kind of see what community paramedicine in this is they're finally realizing it's better to do that than us haul them into the hospital. The hospital say, yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
And and they end up with a hospital transportation bill to the hospital and an ER bill, where we fix the problem, stay well and stay at home. So, and save them and the insurance companies and everybody else fine. So, so that's coming about. You'll see that there'll probably be a request coming through in the next week or so, because we just got this to increase because we had a treatment on transport rate, but it was much lower than that. We need to do some changes with that, so we'll have that before that gets started. So there are some changes being made as far as reimbursement goes. Okay, any other questions on EMS? Okay, health department, we'll go over it. There's some little things, and not big dollar money, but little things that we looked at that we could reduce down. Vehicle maintenance and that sort of things, obviously with the enterprise fleet coming on. Hope that the health department gets theirs sometime soon. That's one of the last ones hanging back, but with that, we'll reduce some cost with that, repairs and et cetera on that. Contract services, we were a little overspent on that last time, or overspent, but we thought we would spend more than we did, so we was able to cut that back a little bit. Travel training, there is travel and training required for some of those things. We do as much with online and that's offered, but some things we do have to send our people to, and certainly, especially when we get any new employees on, we have to send up them to training and that sort of thing as well. So, but we were able to cut a couple $1,000s out of that because part of our staff that we had had training. So was able to cut a little bit there. Fuel and oil and medical supplies, able to cut a little bit there, and that's based upon the miles the vehicle's putting on. I was able to save a little bit there. Supplies, talk about huge dollars there. Health pharmaceuticals did see a little decrease in the amount of use of those, so was able to take some of that off, $10,000 there. Animal health investigations, we're seeing a big increase there. Obviously with some of the things that we used to do with taking all the animals to that hospital, and some of those changes that we've made in the past is now just to be able to shave a little off of that. And the grants, you all know that the grants, we really have no control over that. It's either state controlled or federal control when it comes to WIC. That's federal money, and the others are state money. We just anticipated that they are going to be the same, and so there wasn't any big changes there. So when it come down to it, with the changes we made, we were able to anticipate saving about $14,000, $15,000 off the cost of the health.
I got one question. What's the cash reserve for? Looks like we floated it a couple of years now.
So the health department, because it's not in the general fund, so we will typically still budget some sort of a cash reserve. So right here, that just doesn't show an all cash reserve budget, but we may usually do like a 10% of the anticipated revenue, just to make sure that we're covering enough of a carryover in case something were to happen, because this doesn't have the backing of the general fund to fall back on. It really does just support itself in the health department. It's a completely separate fund. So you have to budget a little bit of carryover just in the case, but that is something that we can talk about. What is the appropriate level? So when we have the 42,000 in there, it's usually basing that on just an anticipate about 10% of what the revenue, in case revenues fell short for what we were expecting to come in for any of the health department items. So that's roughly how we base that. So that would be a number we can look at as we're actually setting the final budgets.
I guess my question would be, why not just come do a budget request? Why are we carrying cash?
Well, so there technically, there would be a budget violation if you ran out of cash in the health department side. So whereas in the general fund, we usually budget about a $1.2 million cash reserve. And so you kind of have that $1.2 million before you would have a budget violation. Where here, technically you've got, if they spent every single dime that was budgeted and revenues fell short, then to cover what we were anticipating, that 42,000 would just be the slight bit of cover that you would have for that year before you'd have a budget violation. Otherwise, we would be looking at options to where seeing if it's possible to transfer funds to carry over from the general fund, and depending on which fund it is, they're not always able to be transferred. I believe we could bail out the health department with the general fund if that were the issue. So we could review what the proper level is for.
I'm just asking a question.
Carryover. But no, it's good question to ask, because there's no exact science on what that cash reserve should be. It's really just based on what we believe would be a proper safety reserve to just make sure that we don't cause any issues with the state. So,
It's more standalone than some of the other departments.
yes.
And like right now, we don't know what they're going to give us as far as WIC, because they operate on a federal fiscal year, which is in October. So we don't know what they're going to give us next year on the WIC yet. So a good example. Potential for run over there is higher. We're actually starting to see quite a few patients. Running anywhere for a while, but we're actually starting to see quite a few patients as well. And we got to provide. If somebody doesn't speak English, we got to provide services for that, which costs us money, and interpreter money.
And that 42,000 is not a set number that I even discussed with John at this point. That was a number that really we moved over from last year, but that's something that we'll actually discuss when I'm able to bring the state form for you or to you here in the next couple of weeks and really show where we're actually sitting and what we believe would be a comfortable carryover for parents. So we can discuss that further.
That was really my big question there. Thank you for answering it, guys. Commissioner?
Thank you for the work you do, and
Absolutely.
tell the others there we appreciate it.
What's that?
Tell the others that we certainly appreciate it. Very good job.
I do have a
In a
question.
lot of situations.
It's the EMS, and I realize not every emergency can be handled at Abilene, but why not take the majority to Abilene and stay in the county? And not only that, but I guess that'd be pushing emergencies to our own hospital. It's kind of where I'm going with that too, but is there a law or a reason we don't do that?
It's not a law. It's, we allow patients to be transported to where they doctor.
And I've heard of, I think I've heard of other, maybe when I'm in like big cities, like, no, the CMS only goes here. That's where they're gonna go.
We could do that.
What's the,
I tell you that what would happen would be that one of two things, either the patient would say, well, if we said everybody that we pick up has to come to Abilene Hospital. A lot of them would choose and say, no, I don't want to go to Abilene Hospital. Bill, load me in the car and take me to the hospital where I want to go. There's some danger. Do we inherit a danger in that? No. That's their choice to do that. But does it make you feel right that you force somebody to, because you wouldn't take them where they want to go, to get in a car and ride somewhere that this person's having a heart attack? And they decide, well, I doctor in Council Grove, I want to go there, and they end up having some real issues by going by car and not with a trained person. I know it's on them, but that's something that us, the county, maybe could have been prevented that person's issues because they had to come here. Another thing it would do is it would also could increase our transfers. When we said, well, you got to come here, but they really want to go to Salina. So then we turn around and have to transfer to Salina, which would increase our volume. But that becomes problematic too, because then we get in the situation, we're going to truck out of county longer now, but we need to add another crew just to keep up with the good. So it would be unpopular, I think, to the citizens of the county if we did that, because forcing them to, or almost forcing them to come somewhere.
yeah, okay.
And I think we'd get a lot of heat back from the communities if you did that. I know some places do it, but you know, and then.
Well, that answers the question.
Yeah. And you get, and the trouble is you get several hospitals that are light services that Memorial has. You know, you go to Memorial, you go to Junction City, get about the same level of service. Even though Junction City is trying to increase and talking to them, they're trying to increase, they get into doing some cardiac stuff, which we were really fortunate that for cardiac related that we have services in Salina that we do.
Yeah.
That we don't have to transport somebody. We used to, when I first started here, they weren't doing cardiac in Salina, and we had to take all cardiacs to Topeka. And so we made a lot of trips to Topeka patients because that was the closest cardiac place. So if Salina obviously does it, but if Junction City starts, we're going to be pretty fortunate sitting here in Abilene. We got cardiac services available 20 miles either direction. So outside of a big city, there's not many places that have that convenience. So that's why we do it. Simply, it falls back to, if now it's within reason. Like I said, we do limit it to those facilities, Marion, Morris County, here, or Junction City, or Salina.
Okay.
So.
Of course, if it's on interstate, they probably don't even ask.
Yeah,
Just
if they
take them.
don't have a choice, we take them based upon their injury or illness. You know, if it's a hard situation, we'll take them directly to Salina. And somebody in Abilene, if they fall and break a hip, but it's obvious the hip is broke, we'll convince them or try to convince them that they just need to go straight to Salina. because they can't fix their hip here. So rather than bring them here, move them to X-ray and back to the thing, they call us and say, hey, yeah, it's broke, put a slide on. We knew it was broke, we could tell it was broke. So, and cardiac the same way. We have our monitors in our trucks that from the bedside of the patient or wherever they're at, do an EKG on them, and we can send it electronically, goes to the truck, get straight to the ER in Salina, and the doctor in Salina can look at that EKG strip and say, yeah, they're having a heart attack. And we load them up and go straight to Salina. A lot of times they'll have the cath lab opened up, wheel that patient to the ER door straight to the cath lab. The people will be suited up, the doctor will be there, and they'll do it. Cath on the first time as well. Works great. Goes great. So,
Thank you, John.
you bet.
Thank you for your presentation. Next, we're going to have Amber with the emergency communication. I always get your two departments mixed up. Not management services,
All three of us are here today. Yeah.
dispatch.
Great.
Okay.
All right, Amy Piper, 911 director. As you guys know, or most people know, but just for the people watching that they don't, I've been here now about 10 months, so in August it'll be a year. So just keep that in mind as I go through my budget. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to determine what's the most efficient way to do things. We were lacking a little bit in some proactive maintenance areas, so we picked up doing that. And then, as you guys know, there's a new 800 radio system in place. So we're just kind of still learning what all our costs and what we're paying for monthly out of that is. So I'm calling my budget something that's currently being refined, under review and refinements. Keep that in mind. I think it'll make sense as I go through it. My department's pretty unique considering that I run off two different budgets. So the first one I'll look at is, you guys have the budget?
Yes.
Okay, so the one, they both kind of look the same, but the first one's the 2027 expense budget worksheet. And then, not to be confused with right under it, it says selected fund 2144. Yeah, so keep that one, we second. So we want the one that does not say selected fund 2144, it says selected fund. Okay, so in looking at that budget, that's the county's money. So I don't really have a lot of line expenses here, but we'll go through it because we were all requested to see where we could save money. And so we did our part as well. The first one on there is public education. Currently, we've spent $1,172 this year. Our budget for this year was $3,000. When Marcus and I talked, we considered that we're probably going to go down to $2,000 there. I think Marcus didn't make that official change because the last several years they went over $3,000, about $3,500. But we're just being very cost conscious there, and so I think 2,000 is a better area. And then really it's something as you get a couple times a year, you just have stock, so you don't have the cost of 1,172 shouldn't go up too much, and definitely not over 2,000 this year. So next year we'll probably go ahead and reduce it down officially. Then the next line item is telephone and internet. So we're removing this line item because monthly phone bills come out of the 911 funds. And then same thing with utilities. Utilities can be paid with the 911 funds. So currently at this time, we're removing those two line items. And then when you come down to office supplies, the current budget's 2,000. As you can see for this year, we've only spent 382. So we felt comfortable for the 2027 requested amount to bring that down to 1,000 as well. And then on miscellaneous expenses, the current budget's 4,000. We're going to take that down to 3,000 as well. Telecommunicators week does come out of this fund, but it's also kind of your catch-all. As you see, I don't really have many line items, so when something doesn't fit in one or two of the other areas, it just kind of lands in miscellaneous. But again, we're going to reduce that down by 1,000. And then contract software, our current budget's 3,000. As you can see, over the last 2 years, what we've actually spent is not very much. However, that's still being, we're left at the same because it's under review to see if those costs come out of IT, 911 funds, or exactly where they come out of. But next year's budget will probably have a reduce there. And then the rest of my line items are just personnel. So if you go to that back page and see what we've actually spent so far for 2026, we're at the $277,000 range. So we're quite under budget with our 2026 budget being $842,000. So if we continue on how we are, we should be projected around $555,776 for the year. So I do know that there is quite a difference there, about $286,973. However, that might be confusing on then why we didn't request the amount changed for 2027. But we do believe that's probably high, but I'll explain more of why we didn't really change that amount. Also keep in mind, currently we're still short-staffed, so we didn't know how that would play into next year's budget. Out of 9 positions, we have 5 full-time and we have 4 PRNs. So moving on. All right, so on the 911 fund budget, the other one that we run mostly off of for our operating costs. These are provided to us at the state level. So they're based on population, cities, counties are out.
Note on that, we're gonna have to talk, that's a lot. We're gonna have to talk about that.
No, that's what I was gonna say. We can go back.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to it.
Well, we could go back now,
Okay.
just stay on dispatch. So public education, I already dropped that to 2,000. Like, these weren't set numbers. I think there was just a little like confusing.
I probably
So-
surplus the staff, I'm guessing.
The contract software also, I think we could likely cut that down as well.
Yeah.
Because you just haven't used that. When you're talking about the $286,000, that's the way the budget was because we budgeted her being full staff.
Right, yes.
So the savings is she's been about half staffed
Yeah, we just
probably
don't know
all
what's the-
year.
We'll see how I guess where I'm going is we'll see how the year ends,
Yeah.
probably, see where staff goes. But that's gonna go to our carryover then, but that's gonna be my question.
Yes, so those savings, this is in the general fund, so that'll be some personnel savings that would go into the overall general fund, basically. So that's just a budget savings. We'll have more, that'll basically be some carryover that'll help with the overall general fund as we go through the budget. So we do anticipate that in a lot of, where you see the savings is typically in personnel, and it's usually in your higher turnover departments. So dispatch, jail, any of those larger position or departments that have a lot of people, you can actually see significant savings pretty quick. We also, another thing that we get into is budgeting for health insurance. So you get into family plans, which could cost close to $30,000 from the county's contribution to a family plan. Well, and then it could be $20,000 for employee and child, or about $10,000 for a single plan. And so when you think we have to budget for open positions that we don't know what they're going to take, a lot of times we have to budget somewhere between that employee, child, and family plan, not knowing if that, because if we budgeted all single plans and everybody came in and took family plans, then we'd have a budget, or we would have an issue with our budget, obviously. So right now, this will be in position in dispatch that we have to look at for next year as we're plugging in the personnel. Because if she's fully staffed come 2027, then we won't see those savings in 2027. But
See where we're at with the year-end report, December or January, whatever day it actually is, but.
yeah, and we'll be factoring in those numbers. Like I said, when we look at the budget, you show the 2025 actuals, you show the 2026 projected and the 2027. So although we might have budgeted this at, say, the $842,000 for 2026, when I go in and factor in those numbers, I'm going to actually take into account what we're anticipating to actually spend in 2026. So we'll automatically basically absorb that $300,000 now, because I'm not going to put in projections that we're going to end up at $842,000. I'll put in projections that we're going to end up closer to $500,000 to $600,000 for dispatch. So that'll be factored into our state budget for 2027.
Okay, so yeah, on the next one, this is the state 911 funds. These are allocated to us by the state, so we don't, have any say in what the amount is, but Dickinson County does get 140,000 a year. It sounds like a high number, but there are two big costs that come out of here. So those are on the contractual line down there, but those are, we pay for our 911 positions to the state of Kansas, so that's 54,000 a year. And then for our CAD system through Tyler Tech, that's 22,978. Those two big costs are over 77,000. So you already cut that in half. So when it says 2027 requested amount, not necessarily that we're requesting anything from the county. Those are just where we're saying we're gonna spend the money. So it's more 2027 allotted amounts is where we get those numbers, but you have equipment maintenance, travel and training, telephone and internet, office supplies, contractual lease payments. So the thing that comes into play here is when I came in, finance did the 911 audit. And so finance doesn't necessarily know what fit into the 911 fund. So what Marcus and I have done since I took over doing that audit from finance was on the other budget, we literally took out every line item that could fit into this budget. But in doing that, when you look down there at the bottom, keep in mind we get 140,000 a year. And so now out of this current, what we think we're going to, what we budgeted to spend this year was 236,583. And what we've actually spent is 122, but if we take that into consideration for only half the year, we're looking at 244,000 that we're spending. Again, only getting 140,000 a year, we're going to go over this budget by 100,000. So we're going to have to put more back into the general fund for the operating cost of dispatch, because again, we're taking on the power leases, all of our radio costs, just things to operate. So that's why when I say Marcus and I are trying to figure out what our normal looks like we are going to run. Not everything can be absorbed, even though it fits on line items of the 911 funds. We just don't get enough money allocated to us from the state to take on all of our operating costs into this fund.
And in this case, for the 2144 fund, when it shows the current budget of 236,583, that's actually taking into account all of the carryover that had. So it's not actually saying that that's budgeted to be spent. Because the 81,853 is just carryover. So you're really just budgeting. It's the budget authority that fund had. So
Is this funded through the special sales tax?
no, so this is funded from the 911 fund or fees that are from the
It's taxes from like phone tax. It's actually part of KDOT.
It's run through the state is where.
Okay.
And then they take certain taxes that are paid at the state level, and then based on population of areas, how they divide it out.
One is that cash reserve, I assumed is tied to this fund.
Yeah, so we receive $140,000 a year. So in past, say we would have spent 120,000, we would have carried over an additional $20,000 in that fund. So that's how it grew to where there was actually a cash balance.
Where are you moving that?
The
Cash reserve you're moving out of there?
that does not get moved. That's
Okay.
not, that is not really, so cash reserve is not a budgeted
Debit and a credit.
spend. It just has to be in there to show your total balance. So it just means that when we were projecting this budget, we were projecting that there'd be 236,583 in that fund for 2026, not saying we were planning to spend that.
These predetermined funds, they're pre-approved areas that you can spend money on. So if you have extra money, it just rolls over to the next year. It's not something that can be taken out and given back to a general.
These can only be spent in very specific.
I'm tracking with you. I'm more asking where the money's gonna go, but it's gonna stay in the fund. So it makes sense.
And then Marcus and I have talked about where sometimes we lack looking towards the future. And so like with Tyler technologies, their ad vendor. They actually run many of the systems here in the county. We all have to move to the cloud within 5 years. And so somehow we're going to have a fund for that and not just be surprised with a $60,000 bill that will be dispatched portion. So, in all of that hindsight, that's why we're calling it. We just don't quite know what the normal is with all of the changes, especially the new tower stuff and dispatch taking on the leases and stuff of those 2 towers. We have had a very high year for radio maintenance costs and all of reprogramming and stuff that they needed for those new 800 radios. And so that's why it's a progress. However, I can assure you that no matter what county's budget is in mind, we of course want to come in under budget as well. Any questions?
Can I go outside a little bit on this? Maybe a few minutes.
We do,
Okay.
we need to talk to Chancey. We got a big thing.
I'll get it.
Well, you're fine.
I just wanted to visit about the setting off the alarms,
Yes.
warning alarms. Many of the communities didn't get any alarm. And
Handle much better. They just push the button.
okay, fancy. I'm sorry. I stepped in front of you. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think we're, yeah.
Yeah, so I did have some questions on that policy, but when I met with fire department last week before this bad week, I made sure that's the way they still wanted to operate and it was about a stop sign.
I will say something. Thank you. This is technically your first year here at Dickinson. I think you're doing a great job. I know dispatch was a little bit of a rough road for you.
Yes.
And I just want to say on behalf of the commission and myself, very appreciative of what you've done with our dispatch department.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
yeah. You
So,
So I'm gonna have Chancey, it's not necessarily on there, but talk about the disaster declaration.
Last night, we talked to the state and so just put it in there. They're gonna make it a wetter pattern that goes.
You're on the.
But I just wanted to make sure they knew we had 2 distinct.
Yeah, they would like us to do this. Cool, so together.
Okay,
That's kind of where they're at.
okay.
Even said, I'll let him talk to that effect, but that was too.
Okay.
Sorry, Chancey Smith, I'm the Dickinson County Emergency Management Director. I gave Marcus a disaster declaration. We changed it a little bit. Normally, we don't have a disaster every other day in the county, but we were at get one on the 8th, and then again, we repeated it on the 10th. We had sustained winds on the 8th of over 100 mile an hour. One gust was recorded at 138 mile an hour just south of Holland. There's a distribution line that runs from across the county down there that goes, well, from Holland, it went all the way to Gibson. Every pole snapped off at the ground, Holland all the way to Gibson. So that's going to take some repair work. I was on the phone with Evergy and they're actually dragging trucks in there with bulldozers to fix them currently right now. So there is some work being done to get those put up. But we had that disaster, and then last night they said, oh, we're going to get probably an inch of rain. Nothing major is going to come out of it. But we tracked the storm from a lot of rain and stuff north of Abilene around the Talmadge area and went all the way down to Harrington. They're estimating between 5 to 9 inches of rain we got out of it last night, again on top of what we had on the 8th. It was a cluster of like supercell thunderstorms all together because we had lowerings and funnel clouds all over the place. But we had good coverage on the storm on all sides of it. We had a lot of professional local storm people out there watching the storms, monitoring what was going on and keeping everybody safe. There was some concerns that people thought sirens should have went off in locations. The people who were in those locations said, no, we're good. It's fine here. And we don't want to get complacent. If you're concerned that the wind's blowing too hard and you're scared, go to the basement. You know, everybody out there that's making complaints about bad weather and stuff has a cell phone that they're listening to. You also have a weather app on there that you're getting all this information. You have that information. Don't ever rely on our storm sirens. Don't ever rely on our storm sirens to be the only reason you take shelter. because so many things can happen to those to keep them from going off. Electricity is the big one. Harrington set their sirens off several times, but as soon as they lost power, their sirens stopped working. That's not going to go off again. So you have to have, and we always try to tell people, 2 ways to get your notification for any kind of events. And something has to be able to wake you up. If you're sound asleep in your room, is a tornado siren outside going to wake you up? No is the answer. That's not what they're for. They're outside warning devices. They're to tell you when you're at the park playing baseball with your kids, we got to get out of here. It's for people that are outside. If you're at home in your house, they're not designed for you to listen to them anymore. They're for people outside. That's what that piece of equipment is for. So have either a weather radio, a weather app, be paying attention to your TV or your radio. But you have to have another device besides that. So yes, we did set them off where appropriate, but in Harrington, we set them off and then they stopped going off because Woodbine, Navarre, Harrington, Lost Springs, a lot of people lost power last night after these storms went through. We had at least 5 funnel clouds. A funnel cloud is a tornado that doesn't touch the ground, but we think it did touch the ground at several locations in that path. And we're trying to track it. And I think the Weather Service will be here today to come down and look and see where it is. We don't have major damage. If you drove down through the city of Woodbine and looked around, you'd think, yeah, this is pretty major damage. There's doors of buildings laying on the street, roofs lifted off. We don't have any injuries, no loss of life or anything like that from the storms we had, but they were dangerous storms. And hence the disaster declaration we're going to put in for this. But we lost a lot of roads in this storm. We were starting to fix them from the damage we had on the 8th where the water washed the gravel off the roads. Well, this was 10 times that this time. We got a lot more water. We have 4 or 5 foot deep water now this time. Walt's Four Seasons was floating semis and stuff at that off ramp there. It was really, really deep there. So it was very dangerous at the time. So I asked that we put this disaster declaration in. We're tracking damages that we have and repairs that we're doing. We're asking townships as they repair them to document, photograph the damages, and hopefully we can get something from this. Nothing's ever assured. The state has over a $5 million threshold to meet before that's reached. Salina has significant damage and they'll probably be able to help quite a bit with that. The disaster period they're calling this at the state level goes from the 4th until the 12th. So all damage that had happened in the state of Kansas from the 4th to the 12th is going to be included in this disaster. So we're well within that. And $5 million is what has to be the damage that's occurred in that. And what we add to that helps with that 5 million threshold.
I think my question would be, Chancey, I understand, and I think the public understands that. But if there was a malfunction, regardless whether people were listening to it, why didn't they go off?
There was no malfunction. They were set off when they were appropriate.
Okay, and they had electricity in our area there, south at Woodbine.
Mm-hmm.
And so the questions to the public, and this is to the public, they just never went off.
Well, I thought you were talking about Detroit.
No, this is Woodbine.
Yeah, no, I have to get into that one. I have to get with Paul down there.
Yeah, they just want to know what happened. Why did they need to get a different siren? Is it wore out? It didn't have a backup battery? What? So there's a lot of questions asked, and I just thought, you're the expert in that area to ask.
We test them every Tuesday.
Yeah.
At noon, and they worked then.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, there's a question there because they were set off.
Yep.
They were set off.
Well.
But Harrington set theirs off 4 times, and they were having trouble. And Amber's left now because we kept setting them off. Amber has a portable. We kept setting them off, but Vinny has a portable radio, and he can set them off from his radio. So we tried, and we have several ways to set the radio.
Oh.
We can go to the tower, set it off. We can do it from a radio, or dispatch can do it from their console.
Okay.
So we did multiple ways to get it to finally go off in here. So we did have struggle with it. But you're also looking at, to get a weather radio, if you get a storm siren to go off, it's a radio frequency. It's like your pager on a firefighter. It's a signal that goes from our tower north of Abilene to that tornado siren. So going through that storm, it's kind of like signal. It has to get good signal to do it. So we're gonna have to maybe start doing that if they don't go off.
You know,
Have the firefighter that's closest to us use your radio and dial it in and call the siren. So I will check on that and get you an answer to that.
yeah, thank you.
Also, the declaration, I think we should do it. I know that the county commissioners in Salina, I spoke with them briefly and they were asked for our support there. Cause I know it helps if we do it and we all pull together a little bit.
Oh, we can't do it alone. Absolutely. If we were alone in this, it's ridiculous to do one because we're not going to get $5 million worth of damage out of our roads, but Saline County, us, but we also have Lincoln County, Ottawa County, and Ellsworth County all have substantial damage also. So, but we might struggle finding rock.
Ron, if you're all right, that'll add it to today's agenda. Absolutely. It's on there. We'll add it to today's agenda, Chancey.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. We got about, unless we have any more discussion pieces, got about 5 minutes before I start our regular meeting at 11 a.m. So take a quick 5-minute break and start up at 11 a.m. Good morning.
Yeah, I found, thank you. Another inch. Something last night. Relationship 2 and 3.
Couldn't buy a rain, now you need some of this on our own. You know, that, sometimes living on the hill is not bad.
They're not doing like normal like department head meeting today, but I still thought just to come.
I can speak to him briefly on
Yeah.
an item and any questions, of course.
Yeah, I may, if there'll be any questions on that.
Yep.
Fireworks, but. So,
You know, it's on vacation, I think.
yeah, she's out this week, and spend some time with some grandbabies.
Good. Yeah, the sun's in my office, still without power.
Really?
Yeah. One of my coworkers don't have any electricity now.
So you're gonna over here just check the laptop.
Or
or
do my
something?
phone. All right. I just.
The flag salute. So then. This stays them down. It started my coffee and left for you. Well, then I walked over to the meeting, I guess. Yeah.
Any sense that you're saying about that? It was trying to penetrate. Right? Okay. Okay.
Are there any additions to the agenda?
We have one addition to the declaration. I'll add that, I gotta bring us to order here and get my other file open.
Hold on, and just to step up to the podium and simply finish the flag salute.
Perfect.
James, I don't see the copy here.
I gotta get it started. Call this meeting to order if it all rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All remain standing for the invocation and prayer. We have Arden Peterson here to give us our invocation.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time, and we thank you for those people that serve our county in various ways, for the commissioners and all the staff that works to keep our services up to date, maintain our roads and take care of things, and we're just so thankful for that. Heavenly Father, we're just thankful too for the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, that we might know that we can have eternal life. We thank you for keeping us from really bad storms here in Dickinson County, and pray that you be with those, particularly west of here, that really had hammered. We pray that they'll be patient and can get their electricity back on and get things back in order. Heavenly Father, we just pray that the commissioners can rely on your spirit to lead them in decisions that they make, and that you can guide and direct them, Lord. And thank you much for this opportunity, and just pray that you continue to bless us as a county and an area here. We pray all this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Arden. You may be seated. Thank you. Moving on to the approval of the agenda, we have one addition today. I'll go ahead and read them off as stated. We have resolution 061126, amending resolution 050125A regarding the sale and discharge of fireworks in the county. We have CUP 26-06 for telecommunications tower on parcel section 35, township 13, range 04 east by Tillman Infrastructure. We have CUP 26-07 woodworking cabinet shop located at the southwest corner of 3100 Avenue and Nail Road by Ray and Mary Matz. We have CUP 26-08 guided outfitting business located at section 9, township 13 south, range 03 east by Robert Babbitt, King White Trails LLC. We have one addition to the agenda today, which is the I'm going to come up with the resolution number 061126A. Resolution number 061126A, proclamation of state of local disaster emergency in Dickinson County, Kansas for the events that occurred between June 4th and June 12th. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second it.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, commissioners. Consent agenda. The minutes are provided for the June 4th meeting in your packets. Accounts payable of $2,163,972.45. Abated tax of $2,463.28. ST security wire, $4,380. Indigent defense of $11,600. Do I have a motion to approve the consent?
I'll make a motion to approve it. Agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving down to Commissioner comments, committee reports. I think, Lynn, do you want to start this week?
Really didn't have too much, other than I was able to attend the symphony events, and that was just amazing. And it looked like the weather maybe wouldn't cooperate. Some of the forecasts 3 or 4 hours in advance looked like a chance of a shower, but it ended up clear weather. I think it was probably one of the best attended events that they've had in recent years. I mean, they always draw a big crowd, but a lot of people come in from various places. Of course, there was a patriotic theme. One other thing in conjunction with that, I was notified through Senator Roger Marshall's office, and they had some veterans that we had opportunity to interview, and some of them from the Military Affairs Council from over at Junction City, Manhattan, participated. I was out there. I believe Greg Wilson was there, and I'm sure some other locals. But we had a chance to interview some veterans where basically they told their story. And the one that I interviewed was from Emporia. Jeff Bacon, in 20 years in the service, he told his story, why he joined, what his family thought about it. I mean, it was really kind of an interesting storyline, and his family also were veterans previously. So anyway, that information, it's taped and it's going to be in the Library of Congress, and that way their family members or friends can go and take a look and listen to those stories. And so anyway, I really appreciated Senator Marshall helping facilitate that, and I'm sure there were many, many others involved, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Lynn. Ron?
I did spend a little bit of time, as I usually do during the week, at the Juvenile Detention Center. And what we're finding out is there's quite a bit more crime than we anticipated. So we're having to really work pretty hard to make sure that everybody's taken care of. But most importantly, I want to take a few minutes to thank the staff here at Dickinson County and its workers, both in-house here and the road crew and stuff, for the work that they have done the last few weeks, especially with regard to the weather. We depend on them so much, and sometimes it's taken for granted. And I think we need to take a few minutes and just thank them for their services and what they do for us. And I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree completely. I had a Dickinson County EDC board meeting. You guys heard from Natalie this morning, so you kind of see where that's going. I think we've made a lot of great progress. We're planning our retreat with our advisory board and our actual serving our board of directors to come up with the new campaign and kind of the new goals and strategic goals of the organization. So looking forward to that as well. Other than that, I don't have much to report. Moving on to presentations, petition, and proclamations. We have none today. We'll go and enter a brief period of public comments. If Assistant County Administrator Marcus Rothschild read the rules, please.
I'm going to tell you these rules are not going to be quite as formal as normal because I am not finding the notes.
Okay.
I'm going to go from, just to let everyone know, if you have any public comments today, the commission will welcome your public comments. We would ask that you would leave that 3 minutes per comment. We also ask that anyone who's listening, as this is not a back and forth session, so what you do is you just let your thoughts and your comments known to the commission, and we will take that information and address you at a later date. Also, please be respectful of anyone who does choose to speak, and make sure there's no booing or clapping or anything of that nature. This time, we welcome any public comments.
Thank you. It was a little different.
Not quite exactly.
Any public comments at this time? I don't see the online, Marcus. You got anybody online that wants to comment?
Not.
Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. Reports from county officers. We'll go back to Marcus, Assistant County Administrator Marcus Rothschild.
Thank you. So the district court offices will be closed on June 19th, 2026 for Juneteenth National Independence Day. The courthouse will still be open that day, but the district court offices will be closed. Just to give an update, this week we did receive quite a bit of severe weather. Dispatch on Monday evening had over 190 calls that came in from Salina after they were overrun, and some of their systems started to go down. There was numerous power outages, down power lines. There were fires and stranded vehicles that were all being called in that evening. Our highway crew responded with 7 or 8 men that came in overnight, worked all night long, making sure the roads could be open and ready for business on Tuesday morning. Thanks to their efforts, all of the paved county roads were reopened by 9 a.m. on Tuesday. There's also crews that were called back in again last night. I dropped off my daughter at Waits this morning at 7 o'clock in Chapman. On my way back, I stopped and visited with a couple of the county officers that said that our highway crew, that they were working off about 8 hours of sleep over the last 3 days as they worked another overnight shift just to make sure that everyone was safe and didn't travel over any of the water that was over the roads. Right now, as of this morning, this was about 9 o'clock, there was still water over the road on the 1200 block of Old 40 and 2200 block of Jeep Road. Highway 43 at that time was still closed in the 2200 block. And then any of the crews that did not work overnight will be in this afternoon and throughout the day removing any debris that they can. So we'll just continue to keep those efforts to keep all of our roads and bridges open and make sure that they're closed if there's any safety issues or implications. That's all I had.
Just to repeat, Ron, the county commission and the residents, thank them for their efforts. So please relay that. County Councilor.
Good morning.
Martin.
Good morning, Commissioners. Aaron Martin, County Councilor. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I was just telling Marcus and Tim, our office in downtown Salina still is without power, so your air conditioner feels nice. Things are going well with everything we're working on, and I trust anyone will let me know if they have any questions. I think I'm coming over next week to participate in a preliminary discussion with the Planning Commission related to preliminary considerations and discussions on data centers and potential zoning regulations related to those. Eventually that, whatever policy is advanced there, would come before you, and look forward to working with everyone on that if and when the time comes. Another upcoming item is in the next week or so, we'll be coordinating with you on your schedules to add a 1 hour Open Meetings Act training session. Ideally, we'll include that as a component either before or after a regular meeting. As you'll recall, we committed to doing that. That's also just a good idea. It's one of the things that we need to always keep in mind. I'm planning to approach that as a primer and cover some of the more practical topics that you will encounter and we will encounter, particularly as a 3-member commission, which adds some kind of unique aspects to compliance. And we'll try to keep it exciting as I can for an Open Meetings Act presentation. If there's anything that you have questions about or would like me to focus on, feel free to reach out to either me or Marcus or Janelle, and we'll be sure to touch on those. But I'm hoping to touch on a little bit of everything and keep it interesting along the way. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions related to what we're doing in the legal world. Otherwise, that's all I have.
I don't know how interesting Open Meetings Act's gonna be, but
Yeah,
I'm excited to see how you make it.
we'll do our best. You know, we'll use some examples from other municipalities that may have run afoul and use them as examples. So there's always some crazy stories out there to illustrate the point, and we'll touch on those. But it's always a good idea to talk about it on an annual basis if we can, just because I think, when we're here conducting very important business, we got to remember we are subject to those open meetings requirements, and some of them are technical and more formal. And so if you kind of reminded of them on an annual basis, we'll make sure we're continuing to be compliant.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Moving down to the business of today, we have CUP 26-06 telecommunications tower. Tim Hamilton.
Actually,
Am I missed one? Oh, I did. I'm so sorry.
No, you forgot.
Should run you back off.
Yeah, I did. I forgot. No, I do this every once in a while. I'm sorry. My mind's
Almost like the way.
My mind's a little somewhere. The last time, guys. Notices of communications, County Clerk Jennifer Kane. I apologize.
No, you're fine. As you remember, back in January this year, I applied for a security grant program from the Kansas Secretary of State. I did receive notice last week that I got approved for $46,633.26 worth of equipment, which would be a trailer, a core switch upgrade for cybersecurity, and an additional camera. Our portion is 10% of that cost because the state will reimburse us 90%. So our portion would be $4,663.33.
Job.
Mhm.
Always good to have grants come in and help us with our budgets and expenses.
And that was really beneficial on the IT side also, that Jennifer was able to reach out to Dustin and find out that qualified, because that's an expense that the county would have had to take on its own anyway. And so being able to get a 90% grant for that was really beneficial to the budget.
Yes, because just his portion for that core switch upgrade was $37,000, just right over that.
Good work.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Some resolutions next.
Yep, thank you. First resolution is 061126 regarding amending resolution 050125A regarding the sale and discharge of fireworks in the county.
I did have a question on that. I just, as far as the amendment, what was the change? Because I understood there might have been a request to extend it to Sunday this year, which wouldn't be follow the guideline of before.
It's in the resolution,
So,
Well, it says it two different ways, so I just want to make sure, I want to get
so
clarification on it.
let me explain it a little bit. So it's one of the establishments that sell fireworks, actually. And the reason he's asking for an extension to Sunday is essentially he's going to be selling fireworks all day. He'd like to set off fireworks with his family on Sunday. We went into a
So-
discussion of
Okay.
kind of what the rules are there, and
So
What
that's
do you think,
probably,
Lane?
so I actually drew a different conclusion. That's one of the sacrifices you make when you choose to be in business. I mean, he could have someone come in and run his stand. Or he could take some time off to do that. I've had some people say that it's just, there are some veterans where it's upsetting to hear the noise. And so they deal with it, and pets, and I realize there's medications you can take. But also some of the surrounding smaller communities try to adapt and be consistent with what we're doing. And so I just got some feedback from some people where, let's relax on Sunday and get ready for the work week. And they didn't want to necessarily hear fireworks. And so I would want that part struck from it, that there is a provision that if it's July 4th on Thursday or Friday, that we do extend it to Saturday.
correct.
But anyway, and it mentioned that in there, but then on the next page, it said something about that it's would be available for Sunday. And I appreciate them coming in and making the request or asking. But anyway, based on the feedback that I have, I would want to change that, strike the part that is on Sunday.
Get the original resolution, 050125A.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was the only change or if it
Really, that is the only change, is that essentially we extended it to July 5th, 27th through the 5th. Now, currently how it reads is 27th through the 4th, but if the 4th falls on, then we allow you to
Thursday
do
or
it.
Friday would be.
actually, the current resolution says the 1st through the 4th.
Okay,
You revised it to the day that we can sell plus the additional fifth.
correct. You're right. I apologize.
It's okay, just something.
So that'd be the only basis. I'd like to see that struck from the resolution, that it not include.
Are you okay with the 27th, which is the start of sale?
So is that for the base, is that when they would sell them, or is that when they
Correct.
start to
That's when they can
discharge them?
start selling them. And then we're saying they can start discharging on the day of sale. The way the current resolution reads is 1st to the 4th, I believe,
To discharge.
to discharge.
Oh, something like that, I think maybe that could be tried. I don't know if it's, I like that window, the shorter window myself. This year it's not a factor, but sometimes people are concerned about if the ground happens to be dry.
I think,
But I think part of the problem with that, the issue with that is once they sell them, there's always going to be a few people go ahead and start firing. And that's kind of hard to enforce that particular portion.
Do you want to see the original on it?
no, she explained it. I was just wondering the date. Thank you, though.
I don't know if it said that in there.
Commissioners, if I may,
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
please.
staff with
You're exactly the person. It's
fine tuning the resolution and I think it was correctly described, but just for the avoidance of doubt, wanted to mention exactly what changed substantively. The existing resolution currently on the books would allow discharge of fireworks only between July 1 and the 4th of July. However, it had a relief valve in the event that July 4th fell on a Thursday or Friday, then it would also be extended to Saturday. And so that is the rules we currently have on the books. July 1 through July 4th, possibly one more day, depending on when 4th of July falls. Under this one before you now, that discharge period would be extended to June 27th. So we're adding 3 days to the front end and just taking it through July 5th in all cases, regardless of when the 4th of July falls on a Thursday or Friday.
Yeah. So based on the feedback I received, I would either want to change that or I can no vote on the resolution either way. But I did receive some feedback from some people where they just said, they want their communities to be consistent and they kind of follow the lead on what the county does. And then I had a few people just mention, they've listened to them long enough. They're ready to take a break until the next year. So they weren't interested in the Sunday.
I had there was no opposition or anybody. They were just glad to be able to shoot them. And on my side of the coin, everything was fine.
I'll call for a motion. Do we want to vote on this current one or do we want to motion to amend? I'm going to allow. We'll go for a motion, see what happens.
Well, I'd make the motion then that we keep the current one in place rather than amend it.
Any second? Guys feel like a second? I would motion, or I can motion as chair, yes. I'd motion to accept resolution 061126 and extending the period to July 5th. 27th through July 5th to discharge fireworks.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, whoops.
Opposed,
Excuse
same
me.
sign?
Not, I changed mine to a no.
Okay.
Just so much on the habit we're unanimous usually. I just,
Yeah, I know. I'm right there with you. I knew what I called it. It was gonna happen.
yeah. But yes, I'd be a no vote. And it's just out of respect for what people had said. And
Totally
I'm
understand.
going to be firing I'll have some fireworks and our family will. I'm very excited about the celebration part.
Can you get us
I
a
just wanted to
new
draw the line there.
resolution? He has it signed on there.
Yeah, so I can cross it
yeah.
out.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
or however you want.
So motion carries a 2-1 vote, 1 nay being Lynn. Good to go? I totally get it.
No, that's fine. That's what we're here for.
Exactly. That's the first split decision I think we've had yet. Just in case anybody's curious, 1.5 years. That's pretty good. CUP 2606 telecommunications tower on parcel section 35. Sorry for calling you up too early, Tim.
Good morning, Tim Hamilton, Planning and Zoning. CUP 2606 is a request by Tillman Infrastructure to construct an approximately 200-foot self-supporting telecommunications tower generally located on a parcel of land located in section 35, township 13, south, range 4 east. This is on the corner basically of, I believe it's the northeast corner of Union Road and 1900 Avenue. And the tower will have co-location capabilities and improved coverage in the area. Tower location meets setback requirements and road right-of-way and setbacks from adjacent properties as well. The applicant apologized. They said they weren't able to make it here today. And they told me, they said, if you don't feel comfortable approving it today, they would be here next week if you wanted to continue it. I don't think that there's going to be, we don't have an issue. The staff and the planning commission are both recommending approval. The applicant has submitted all of their FAA and FCC paperwork to us as well. So the only condition is like if they haven't completed all of that, then they would send it to me before I would issue a building permit. But it looks like they have all their paperwork in order. So.
You said commission is recommending approval. Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Tim on CP 26-06? Do I have a motion to approve CUP 26-06 based off staff recommendations?
So moved.
Got a motion?
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. You will let the applicant know that 2606 is approved. Go ahead and move down to the next one, Tim. Sorry, I gotta get used to this. CUP 26-07 woodworking and cabinet shop located at southwest corner of 3100 Avenue and Nell Road, Ray and Mary Mast.
Yes, this is a request to establish a woodworking / cabinet making shop with which would be open to the public on property located at the southeast corner of 3100 Avenue and Dale. This came up last month. The applicant is the main issue that was raised at the planning commission meeting was the presence of the generator that they're going to be using operating from their shop with, and whether or not that is exempt or approved through KDHE, also setback requirements for that as well. So the conditions that the planning commission put on it were that the applicant must abide by any requirements of Hayes Township. The Hayes Township representatives are here if you have any questions. This would be for road maintenance, consultation with KDHE on whether the diesel generator to be used is exempt from permitting and requirements for disposal of any waste products resulting from the manufacturing process. In the event a restroom is proposed for this building, applicant must consult with environmental services. Any physical expansion may require an additional CUP. Applicant must pull a separate building permit for a single family home that they're intending to build. Right now, they're using a portion of the building that they're going to be using for the shop as kind of a residence, temporary residence, and then that will be abandoned once they pull a permit for their single family home. So with that, the applicant is here also. Levi is here, and he can answer any questions as well if you have any for us.
The only thing I guess it probably doesn't matter, but the findings of number 7. I mean, we have pivots all over the county. We don't limit their noise. I listen to diesel gen all night.
Right. That was an issue that was brought up and was brought up by a couple of the commissioners that those aren't really regulated.
Okay. I was going to say, like, we're going to irrigation motors running right now. I mean, maybe not right now, but okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's not like a future thing we're going to be worried. Okay. That's no. Okay.
This just came up as something that the commissioner brought up because of proximity to some residents across the street, I think, and the applicant has already agreed to move whatever, you know, just out of courtesy to move their generator down further southeast.
Okay.
So,
I guess I'm saying, as me, for me, I would not put that on someone. Kind of ridiculous. Okay,
you know, that's not going to be.
that's what I'm making sure of, like, they're not gonna, okay.
That just came up.
I feel like that opens a can of worms, is right. Any questions, commissioners, over CP 26-07? You're making cabinets? Are you the applicant? Okay. You guys are making cabinets, though? All right. Well, some large cabinets. Okay. I believe we have no questions at this time. Staff is recommending approval of this permit.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve CUP 26-07 as stated?
I'll make a motion to approve that CUP 26-07.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for putting in business here.
I'll mail you your CUP that's been signed.
And I will tell you, I don't know if it's a part of your group or not, but the pies up there, absolutely amazing. I mean, and you guys gotta go up on your price, like $5. That ain't enough. I'm just letting, I shouldn't tell you that, but they are amazing. It's like the best pie I've ever ate.
Where'd you buy that?
It was on the road, it was on 15. They had a shop there and they were selling pies. And I'm like, what the heck? I stopped off with the best apple pie I've ever eaten in my life, man. I should have bought 3 of them.
Before the bridge or after?
I came up Solomon Road. I went right to go up to Clay. They were right about up there on 15, 18 and 15. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you guys knew each other or not, but man, let them know. It's a good apple pie, man.
They
They were like $6. It was. I don't know. I just was driving. What did I find? Treasure trove up there. Okay, sorry to distract us.
Well, pine's pretty important.
You know, you're right.
I'm talking 4th of July, apple pie.
Pies. I don't know if they're there all the time, but they were there that weekend. But, okay. All right. CUP 26-08.
Okay, this is consideration of establishment of a guided outfitting business, including lodging, appliance, and placement of a sign generally located in Section 9, Township 13 South, Range 3 East, at the request of Robert Babbitt, King Whitetails LLC. The concern was raised over the applicant's location related to the railroad tracks and whether a caution sign should be placed, but in the end, it was not recommended. The Planning Commission is recommending approval of this request as is staff with staff conditions, and those conditions are that I believe you're already consulting with environmental services on septic and all. I don't think there's going to be an issue with that. Yeah, I didn't think so. So for well sizing for this particular type of use, and any additional structures not currently on the site would require a building permit, and any change in the proposed use, if they modify what their services are, you know, beyond what they're doing right now, that they may require an amended CUP, but at this point, they're pretty consistent with being just a guide valve. So, I don't know.
I'm fine with it, as long as you don't hunt my deer over my area, we're fine. I can deal with that. Any questions, commissioners, for CP 26-08? A motion to approve based off staff recommendations.
I've so moved.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations. That's all our CPs for today.
Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you, guys. I'll just say, thanks for investing in Dickinson County and look forward to see what you guys grow into.
Yeah, a lot of restaurants up in there, eating and stuff like that. Pretty darn good deal.
Bringing in people into town for home, betcha. My food. All right, next on the agenda is resolution 061126A, proclamation of state of disaster emergency for Dickinson County, Kansas. We heard about this morning. I think this one's procedural. I think everyone knows what's happened the last few days. I will note for the record that I spoke with actually Senator Scott Hills, who I spoke with. He spoke with the Saline County Commission. They got quite a bit of damage over there, and it helps if we all pool together and try to get that emergency together. So I think to be neighborly, and also we have some damage here on our road, so there's definitely a need for it. Any more discussion on that? Anybody want a motion to approve resolution 061126A?
I'll make a motion to approve 061126A.
So heard.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I believe you have a signed copy of the proclamation for disaster emergency. Okay. Any other business today, commissioners? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you guys for coming in today.
Resolutions.
Yeah.